Hey everybody, welcome back to Out of Time. I'm your host, Nash DeLorean. We are here live again for episode 3. So what is Out of Time? Out of Time is a show about memories. It's a show about all the music and movies and TV that shaped us as a kid. We are here to discuss what the overlap is between, some of what my experiences were and some of those of others. Because we all have kind of shared memories about the things that we watched when we were growing up, but everybody has a little bit of a different circle. And so we get really interesting Venn diagrams out of these overlaps sometimes. And we are here to explore the depths of those memories together. I'm glad you chose to spend another evening with us here. I really do appreciate it. I don't really have anything else to say, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest for episode 3, my good friend Alex. Hello, welcome to the show. Why don't you tell me a little bit about how you define your generation to yourself, like what it means to you in your head, and like what those boundaries are, and how you differentiate yourself from generations before or after yours.
A lot of people define their generations mentally, especially when looking back on memories in terms of maybe their family structure and like siblings. So I kind of view my generation as like, the friends that I had in the years like really close to the year I was born. And then I view like the older generation as people around my sister's age, which she is 5 years older than me. And then I view the younger generation as like kids younger than probably like 5 years or even more younger than me. I tend to get along really well with people that are only a few years younger than me. But as far as our generation, I would define us as like, in terms of TV, probably really more well connected than the generations after us, because they grew up more online and with cell phones in hand, and we didn't really have that. So our generation is really interesting because I feel like we shared really vulnerable moments online, and all of us got online probably between the ages of like 12 and like 14 maybe. Like I had Zanga when I was like 13 and 14, and I was like blogging about like the nothing that me and my friends were doing every weekend. So I find our generation interesting because we probably have a lot more clear memories when it comes to thinking about television and the way we grew up, and then didn't have to fuck with the internet until a little bit later on. And even generations that are only a few years younger than us grew up, I think, with television and internet kind of being like mixed in terms of their interest. So maybe they spend a lot more time. Like I do therapy with little kids, and all they talk about is like TikTok and like watching YouTubers and stuff. So it's interesting to me. They are very like connected online, and I feel like we spend a lot more time watching TV. So I don't know, broad picture discussion of generations. I don't like to fuck with that sometimes because to me, it's just difficult. I think we're all so stuck in our own experiences that it's really, really hard to talk about the generations before and after us accurately.
It's what's interesting to me right now. You and our previous 2 guests have both also mentioned sort of the technological evolutions a little bit that happened with the internet and all of that happened during our lifetimes, and how everybody got access to high-speed internet while we were all still in middle or high school or whatever. And so we had that really is sort of, in my mind, something that's unique to our generation as well, is that we had the, one foot in both worlds kind of thing. Whereas,
yeah, I feel like we really are like the last to have like grown up with even the childhoods that like our parents talk about, like playing outside. Like I remember the whole thing was like, don't play too many video games, like get outside. And it's like I played outside a shit ton, even though I watched TV. And when I look at the generations like a little bit younger than me, I'm like, those little fuckers like did not play outside. But I feel like an old person saying that because it just sounds exactly like what the old people were saying when we were growing up. So it's hard for me to make those judgments, but I definitely feel like we were the last to like grow up with this pure childhood where we played outside and like watched cartoons.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? And those get off my lawn feelings really do sneak up on you.
Truly.
What are some of your earliest memories of watching TV?
Um, a lot of my earliest memories of watching TV were like, I grew up in this house until I moved in third grade, so I have like super young memories from it. But I went to like kindergarten and I rode a bus that year, and I remember like getting off the bus and like running straight down the hallway like into me and my little brother's room with TV in there. And I remember like I would sit on the floor like against the side of my bed because it was like maybe on a little stand, but it was like down by my bed. So I just remember like curling up like on the floor, like against the side of my bed and like turning on the TV. And I would watch like Reading Rainbow and like OETA shows a lot. And like I liked Barney, but I don't know if that was on there or not. I watched that show Out of the Box a lot, but I can't really remember what age I was whenever I was watching that. But that like made me want to like be able to jump into different worlds so bad.
Take one box, put it with another. Let's look for one that's long and wide.
You come too.
We'll build a house together. Now what's it gonna be inside? We'll let imagination take us for a ride. Come on! Wow! Out of the box. Yeah, when you arrive.
Out of the box. Pictures come alive.
I was so young that was like my first show, like imagining building buildings and like what I'd want inside, and like if you could just jump into like a space and it being whatever you wanted. I thought that was fucking cool. So I don't know. I remember thinking a lot about that. Like, how did they get that box house and where can we get one?
It's a really good one. Out of the Box was always really crafty too, which I guess fits with the theme of having like a big box fort or whatever.
The Great Hatsby? Pat the Beanie? Ah, this one looks promising. In fact, it's perfect. All about hats. It's called a 3-hat day.
A 3-hat day. By Laura Geringer. Pictures by Arnold Lobel. Read by Zelda Rubinstein.
Oh yeah, it's definitely blanket time.
Absolutely.
R. Pottle III loved hats. He loved firemen's helmets, and fur hats, and felt hats with feathers tucked in the bands. He loved top hats and tiny hats. He loved berets, and bonnets, and bathing caps, and bowlers.
Oh, hi. It's good to see you. Viv and the kids will be here soon. And I can't wait because, do you know what today is? It's one of the most exciting days of the year. I'll give you a hint. It's Halloween. Oh, I just
Hell yeah.
love Halloween. It's the best holiday. Everyone dresses up in costumes and goes house to house shouting, trick or treat, trick or treat. And sometimes there are parades and parties. And, of course, pumpkins.
That shit is so crazy.
That's pretty
I was
good.
living for it when they jumped through the box. Like, I was like, holy shit, it's been years since I've seen this.
Isn't
My
it?
fantasy.
Oh man, it really reminds me, like format wise, it reminds me a lot of Barney. Kind of, they do a lot of the same kind of activities and stuff. All that good kids show stuff. It's got like crafting, and they do music and stuff, and they teach you like dances and fun facts about other countries, and you know, like it's got all that packed in there. But then like it's in this imaginary box fort.
Nikki and I were actually having a conversation today that reminds me of this, because we were talking about the COVID response in America and like the crisis of like educating kids. And we were talking about how in other countries, she was telling me this, that like they have developed like educational programming that they have been like putting out on TV. And like I was like, dude, that would be sick, because like there are people that already know how to do that job. They host those little kids shows and they sing those little kids songs, and like that's basically like what that kind of is. Like, yeah, you might want to like bump it up a notch if you're like counting it as like education, but like some people are really good at that shit. When I was a preschool teacher, I had to sing all the time. Like, I would love to be on one of those shows.
Yeah. It's like so frustrating because it would be so easy to do and just makes sense.
And kids would love it. Like, they wouldn't need as much parental like intervention all throughout the day if they were being like entertained. No, potentially.
It wouldn't be difficult to expand it out for, have different programming blocks for different ages or something, or, whatever. Like other countries have already done. It's not even a hypothetical. It's like doable. I mean, one thing that I think that you have a little bit more insight on too is the evolution, I guess, of kids programming, or like what's available to kids right now, because you work with them every day and like what's going on. And you mentioned earlier how everybody's on YouTube and TikTok and stuff now, and we've kind of hit on it on the last couple of shows too, that there's not the same kind of content available to kids. But in reality, like they're not even consuming content on the same platforms that we did. How do you get this kind of content in front of kids anymore without like having to platform it on like Facebook and YouTube and TikTok and whatever? Is that just going to replace, sort of those experiences for us? Is it going to augment them? We really still don't really know, I feel like, I
mean, it's interesting that you say that, because like I feel like our generation, we watched shows as we got a little bit older and could have been like utilizing apps if we were younger, like if we were living now. But we liked like shows like Lizzie McGuire, and we all liked Hilary Duff because we liked Lizzie McGuire. And like now I even feel like when kids are talking about like a popular artist, I don't even know where they came from. Like sometimes they're like reality TV show kids like JoJo Siwa. I didn't know where she was from, but I hear kids talking about her, and it's like from Dance Moms, I think. And like there's like kids know about famous influencers and mention that shit to me, and like I don't usually know who they're talking about, but I'm about to go find out usually. So that stuff interests me, because I feel like even their like public figures and the things that they're kind of into are very based in social media, not so much like TV shows and stuff.
Yeah. And I'm not really willing right now just yet to say that it's a good or a bad thing. I feel like we still have yet to really find out. But there's definitely going to be, or there already has been, that shift in how kids consume this kind of stuff. And, we look at like what's on TV right now. Well, all through our lives, there was this constant battle to defund public television and educational television and all that. It doesn't turn a profit, so why is the government paying for it, or whatever. And there's a ton of Sesame Street stuff that they put out for free on YouTube and stuff like that. And it's not like HBO like guards Sesame Street behind a subscription now. Like it's still very much available to kids, just more so on platforms that they use. So aside from the like platform shift, where they're seeing things in places that didn't even exist when we were kids. Aside from that, where they're getting it from, do you think that there's any big shift in their attitudes toward TV other than just the source? Do they think that they like watch more or less or anything like that?
I have no idea, honestly. Like, I wish I understood those trends better, because like I know my kids engage in a lot of social media and stuff, but they talk to me about shows they like, but I don't really know like their usage level on like any of that stuff. And also like a ton of my kids like online game, and they game a lot. So that's kind of something that has stayed the same, which is interesting. But I don't know. I don't know if I really like understand the TV watching trends in like younger kids.
From kids that I've been around over the last, decade or so, it has seemed like they still watch a pretty good amount of TV, and parents are usually pretty sensitive about like screen time and stuff still. Yeah. But then we'll like leave on Netflix forever. And, it seems to me like it has kind of shifted where like instead of turning on channel 11, we're, opening up the Netflix app or whatever, or the HBO app and watching something, or YouTube or whatever. But it still seems to me like kids watch a lot of stuff. what I really am going to be interested to see is in, another 10 or 20 years, really just probably 10 years, if they have any like iconic kind of childhood TV content, whatever, figures like we do. We can look back and we see LeVar Burton and Reading Rainbow and all these other people we've talked about over the last couple of shows. And I'm going to be really curious to see if they have those same kind of, there's that same kind of permanency to it, because so much of the internet and the content that they watch is so much more like ethereal. It's one episode of a YouTube show and then they never watch it again or something.
Like, you're curious if kids will have people or like characters that they remember like well from like iconic shows.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's really all I'm getting at is whether or not they're going to have that kind of permanency with, whatever figureheads or I don't want to say idols, but those iconic adults on kids shows that we remember and grew up with. Like we've got Bill Nye or LeVar Burton or anything like that. Are they going to have like those kind of people, or is it going to be too ethereal and they just remember kind of like watching videos on YouTube or whatever?
Maybe it's like specific to America, but it's interesting that you say that because I just finished watching Canada's Drag Race season, and the winner of the season was like a television kids show host in Canada. And I was just thinking about this like literally just the other day, how like, oh man, like that's like Steve from Blue's Clues. And like we had those people that like worked those jobs. And I was thinking about like, yeah, those, like who are those people now?
I literally
and like
don't
I feel
know.
like young kids talk about like they attach themselves a lot to movies. I feel like kids love Frozen, and like, man, do so many kids love Frozen starting from years ago. Like that has held up.
Jesus, it did. It really did.
Like young kids talk about liking Frozen, but like even back when I worked at the Y, kids had already seen it, had already come out. That's like 10 years ago.
Yeah. So who was your favorite person to watch TV with when you were a kid?
Probably my little brother. Shout out to Nick. He is like 3 years younger than me. So we enjoyed like all the same type of shows, generally speaking. So like my sister, she would watch younger kid shows with us, but she wasn't always around. So I think it was just like, it was usually he and I watching shows. We like often watch TV together. I have a lot of memories of us watching TV like really late at night and like on the weekends. So
when you're really little, the age difference is like, major, those 3 years, whereas now it's like basically nothing. So when you were kind of growing out of that, stuff for babies, that's for babies.
I was a bitch about that. Like,
was it just that you always picked, or like, what do you mean by that? What did that look like in reality?
I'm sure it oftentimes looked like I picked. I don't really remember, but like I remember a lot of times that I would like watch Teletubbies and stuff like that. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it was like regulated a little bit by like our parents, because like we did watch like shows he liked that I would be like, ugh. But I don't know. I also feel like whenever we like had a disagreement over the TV, like I remember like I would just be like, all right, I'm gonna go do some other shit. Like we played so much as kids, so like I would just go play sometimes.
Yeah. Was there a time where like you watched a lot of TV with your parents but not so much with him, or was it just like pretty much you two the whole time?
It was us two the whole time mostly. And then for a while, like our family watched a lot of shows all together. So it was stuff my parents were like choosing, but like Nick was like there too. And we would watch like Survivor all together. We would have like pizza. It was like on a certain night of the week. So we would like always order pizza and like all as a family, like watch Survivor.
Can't remember what night it was on. Yeah, but it was Survivor night. We didn't plan things on those nights. We like were home. Yeah.
I remember like sitting at school and like, knowing what day it was every day, obviously, because I was in school. And so I would be like, tonight we're going to like watch fucking Survivor. Like, that was like what I had to look forward to as a kid. Like when I was pretty young, I didn't spend a lot of time at like other people's houses. I was like at home a lot with my family.
We mentioned this earlier, that you couldn't remember the first movie that you saw in theaters, but are there any like early ones that you do remember, or any early memories that you have of going to the theaters or anything like that?
Not necessarily. To be honest, I mostly remember the snacks that I ate at the movies. Like, straight up, dude. My like favorite part about going to the movies was like,
Yeah.
even if because like we would see things sometimes that like us kids wanted to see, but like if my dad wanted to go see fucking like whatever, like James Bond again, like we're all going. Like I don't know why they didn't like sometimes just get people to watch us, but like if we could go and it was like not too bad of a movie, like we were gonna be there. So I got really excited to like bring snacks to the theater, because sometimes it would just be like the movie's not my jam, but I'm eating these like potato bites. So like we like snuck stuff in, but never like food. And they didn't buy that type of food at the theater.
Yeah, we were sneakers, but we would have like sometimes every now and then we'd have like a little special time and we would get nachos or something.
Yeah, we got popcorn usually, but like we would get like popcorn and drinks, and that's that on that.
We were allowed to get popcorn and drinks pretty regularly, but like other candy and shit we always snuck in, and then sometimes like bottles of soda or whatever. But I remember one of my friends, her mom would pop like whole bags of popcorn.
I just remembered a theater memory that I can share with you. It's so bad. It's so bad. So me and my whole family, we always did this shit. Like we went to see movies together a ton. And one time we went to see Superbad, and it was like me and my whole family, and the theater was packed. And like, so there was laughter like often. And so anyway, I like, for some reason, I like had my like legs on my mom. My mom used to do that to us a lot in the theaters because like her legs are so short. Mm-hmm. Seriously, she did that shit all the time, which is why what happened next is crazy. So I have my legs on my mom's lap, and we're in the middle of Superbad, and like it's popping off. And like my dad starts rubbing my foot. The fuck? Like he started rubbing my foot. And like at first it was just like kind of like a regular like foot rub. And I was like, this is not fucking happening, dude. And like I didn't want to say something. And like I didn't know what to do. But then he started like really like rubbing my foot, and I was like, oh my fucking god, like, what the fuck? And so I'm sitting, he's next to my mom, and my mom is next to me. So she's between. And so the movie's like loud, people be laughing, like, it's all going well. And I reach over and like tap my mom, and I like point down, and she like sees it and like is also watching, like, what the fuck? And so we start laughing like so hard, but like something had just happened on the screen, so like everyone was laughing. So my dad like still didn't know, and my mom was like fucking dying laughing, and I think she's the one that like pointed it out to him, and he was like, oh, and like he was like disgusted.
Okay.
Really, don't worry.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, bye.
Sorry. Bye. Sorry.
I'll never know what my first movie in the theater was, but goddamn, I'll never forget that.
My stomach hurts now.
It's gonna be the last thing I think about before I die.
What was I gonna ask you? That the foot rub story just like totally.
You would have loved it. It was an incredible, unbelievable night.
So. So VHSs is what I wanted to talk about next. Were there any tapes that y'all like wore out watching so much, or what was just your most watched tapes as a kid?
From my point of view, we watched this movie, The Swan Princess, which is iconic.
You're beautiful.
Thank you. But what else?
What else?
Is beauty all that matters to you? Derek? What else?
What else is there?
Goofy movie, man. We loved the Goofy movie. I still love the Goofy movie, and lots of people talk about like the second Goofy movie, and we probably watched that one like maybe once. I have never gone back and watched it. I intend to, but like I think the classic is amazing. Like, I'm blanking on his name, but Powerline. My parents also, like, at some point, I learned, I guess, somehow that, like, buying blank tapes was, like, a thing. And so my parents started buying me blank VHS tapes. And I would, like, record, like, Disney Channel original movies on them, music videos, Disney Channel fucking holiday floats. And then we'd be, like, clips of Jackass. And it would be, like, you know, like, whatever. It would be, like, tapes of just little shit, like, and we would just keep using it. But one time I had one of those and Disney Channel was playing Emperor's New Groove. Actually, it's so funny because my dad one time was going to Blockbuster and we couldn't think of anything. And we were like, just like pick us out something, like just pick us out something random. And like gave him, I guess, no criteria really. Yeah. And he came back with the Emperor's New Groove. And like Nick and I literally have talked about feeling guilty for this so many times. We roasted his ass. We were like, we do not want to watch this trash. Like, this is like a little kid movie. And my dad was like, well, it's what I rented, like maybe give it a shot. Like we made him feel bad though. We were like, this is like little kid shit. Nick and I have like apologized as adults for how wrong we were. So I one time found out Disney Channel was going to play Emperor's New Groove. And so I had one of my blank VHS tapes and I taped it and I even stopped it whenever I sat right in front of the TV. Because like my job while that movie played the entire time was to record this bitch, cut out the commercials. Like I wasn't even watching. I was like waiting to like press stop and then press it back on. So I like recorded all of Emperor's New Groove on a VHS tape and cut out the Disney Channel commercials. And that is a tape we used a ton.
That is so funny.
We never taped over that. Like I taped over so many. Like I would be like, Xenon, I'm sorry, girl, you gotta go. I gotta tape this Macy's Day Parade. The night before Nick moved to college, like seriously, like the night before, we were at our parents' house and they had a TV with a VHS player upstairs. And we were looking through like this stuff in a box and we found one of those tapes and we turned it on and we like watched the whole thing and it was like Aaron Carter and like it had like, and like we were bonding like so hard over that tape that I like cried. And then he went to college the next day.
That's a good memory.
VHS tapes are everything to me. Like, that was a big part of my childhood.
That's so weird. That's because
so
weird. Get it? Because it's the name of the show.
So weird, bro.
So weird.
Love is stronger than evil.
Pretty spooky.
Coming up, hang out with the Monday Night Football Club.
Wow.
And check out
Remember that guy?
Weird. It was
Channel's
so
original
weird.
Series, The Jersey, here on Disney Channel.
Like, okay, I don't want to be really cliche or anything, but that was so weird.
Also, I really can't believe that I like tortured myself to stay up until like 1:30 in the morning or some shit to watch that.
Oh, yeah, well, how did they have internet access? This was,
God knows.
you could only get dial-up still. They were on a bus. There was no Wi-Fi. What?
So weird.
That's so weird.
So weird.
So weird.
So weird.
It's so weird. I don't know why I didn't watch that. I watched a ton of Are You Afraid of the Dark, which was earlier than this. Talk to me a little bit about Xenon. Talk to me about when you were a kid with Xenon on and how it felt to grow up as a girl of the 21st century yourself.
Man, I just wanted to go to space like Xenon. And I remember like just being so influenced by the Disney Channel original movies in general, like Smart House. Like I just loved, I guess I liked the ones that were kind of like sci-fi-ish. And so I loved Xenon because I loved the idea of going to space.
Yeah.
MTV did this show like really late at night where they would, it wasn't like TRL, but it was just a show where like they would have a music video on, and then at the very bottom of the screen there would be like 2 like music videos, and you had to text like a vote to like determine which one was going to be played next. And like
Right.
we were way too young to have cell phones, which is like another, like that's just like a funny part about our generation that we kind of talked about earlier. So Nick and
Yeah.
I would be like watching this show, like really wanting like usually one out of the 2, and like, but we had no cell phones, so we would just be like sitting there waiting to see which one was going to play next, watching
Yeah.
like the one on. And like we, I guess, found this music video through that show, and it was J-Kwon's Tipsy music video where they like throw a house party and like, his parents come home and like find out, and like we just thought that shit was like weird and funny, but like the song was like really catchy. Like we like unashamedly like loved this music video and song, so we would like always be cheering for that to win that little voting thing.
Everybody in the club get tipsy. Everybody in the club get tipsy. Everybody in the club get tipsy.
Like that was like the first music video I probably ever like had an attachment to, like for realsies, where I was like, yeah, I want to watch that shit again, like because I
So
just
funny.
wasn't that into music videos.
I think we've kind of run the depths of our memories probably as far as they're going to go tonight. I really, really appreciate you coming by.
I watched a whole So Weird episode tonight. It was so weird.
So weird. It was so weird.
So weird.
So weird. So
So
weird.
weird. I gave it my all with that one.
Oh, so weird.
So weird.
So weird. This is staying in. Yeah, anyway, so folks, everybody say bye, Alex. I really appreciate everybody coming by tonight for Out of Time. This is going to conclude our 3rd episode. And as always, you can go watch it on YouTube on Wednesday. If you're watching it on YouTube right now, like and subscribe. I'm going to say that. I'm going to be a good boy. We will be back next Saturday with our 4th episode. God, I'm losing track. Am I supposed to count these forever? Oh. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. See you next time.